Okay, we are now recording. This is the Home and Community-Based Services August operations update or team meeting. As you will notice, it is September. I did need to reschedule, and I really appreciate your patience and your willingness to adjust your schedule. Very kind of you. So hopefully we've got some good information for you. As always, please feel free. It looks like somebody might actually already be in the chat room. Oh, hello from the Santa Cruz, cool. Feel free to write something in the chat room or to take yourself off mute if you would like to ask a question or add something. In the end, I will try to give us some time just so others can talk if you just have any updates or anything for us. So in the meantime, I will get us started. I'm going to move this so this will go down. And of course, it's not doing it. It does that once in a while. Okay, so as is our BHS way, if you will just center yourself for a moment, and we will start with a prayer today. And I did choose, I'll explain a little bit more why. Next week is National Assisted Living Month, and so I thought it might be good to acknowledge not only the clinical people, but the administrative person and other staff in our buildings, because all are caregivers. So today is about a prayer for a caregiver. So unknown and often unnoticed, you are a hero nonetheless. For your love, sacrificial, is God at his best. You walk by faith in the darkness of the great, unknown, and your courage, even in weakness, gives life to your beloved. You hold shaking hands and provide the ultimate care, your presence, the knowing that you are simply there. You rise to face the giant of disease and despair. It is our finest hour, though you may be unaware. You are resilient, amazing, and beautifully unexcelled. You are the caregiver, and you have done well. So thank you all for everything you do every day. So our agenda today, I just want to share with you all the theme of National Assisted Living Week, and it is next week, so I want to welcome you to that as that starts. Update on some goals from the AL. For the AL and the goal, and update you on the actual results of the goals for 2018. Give you some detail in the operational update. A couple of quick reminders just from things that as I've been talking to people who may be new and may not have had some information that was pretty relevant from past conversations, just to give a reminder and an opportunity to reach out if you need more information on CLIA waivers and the Minnesota attestation. And then just some FYIs, one of them specific to a Bill of Rights email that you would have received from the Minnesota Department of Health. Another, I always try to bring to you tools as some vendors bring some things that may be useful to you. And then again, other announcements if anybody has anything you would like to say. And again, I will check the chat room. Please feel free to use that to raise your hand and or just literally unmute yourself. A reminder, please, when you are not talking, do mute yourself and do not put us on hold. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So National Assisted Living Week is September 9th through the 15th. Capture the moment. I call this out for a couple of reasons. One, to say happy National Assisted Living Week. But two, as we have switched to leading age, this particular national day was really sponsored more by the care provider side of the world. So as we have switched to leading age, you might not have gotten the information that you would have necessarily in the past on some of your distribution lists if you have switched your membership, which all should have done at this point. Or I think Chris maybe has a few that are still waiting to get some awards, but want to make sure that we acknowledge this. So Capture the Moment is this year, and this comes straight from the NCAL website, and really the reason for the theme is they hope to inspire residents to realize their dreams and seize the day. They want to look at reflection, have residents maybe look back on pivotal moments in their life, using photography, videos, and others, but also to remind the caregivers that every day their interactions make a difference. So again, back to our prayer and thanking you for the work that you do. If you do go to the NCAL website, there are resources and tools that you can use to celebrate this within your community. If you have any questions for me or need any help or anything, or from marketing, reach out. But again, that's information on that. Any questions, thoughts, or comments there? So the goals, we've talked about this in the past, but I just want to remind again, because not everybody can always be on these calls, and we are blessed to have Jerry with us today, that she's given a lot of information to the directors of nursing, but I wanted to make sure that the not only any nursing that is on this call, but also the administrative side gets a chance to understand some of these new goals. So these are the goals for 2018, and you can see that the Assisted Living Safety Index is new. The Assisted Living Resident Recommendation, we'll talk more about that and how we can ideally increase that. Associate Satisfaction, 90-day retention, annual retention, those are all new. Open positions is now deleted. Cash flow, we'll talk a little bit more about that and some of the things that ideally can maybe help with that. And then housing free cash flow. And we'll take a look at the dashboard. So I'm going to stop here and ask, I will mute myself and ask Jerry to unmute and talk to us just to make sure that everybody really understands where the safety index is coming from, and then I will bring us to the dashboard so you can see where we're at right now. Go ahead, Jerry.
I'm wondering, Penny, if you can give the screen over to me, because I had planned on walking through a couple documents. I'm in as CSG. So you go to your screen and then start sharing my screen, and you select who you're going to share it with. So can you see my screen now?
I can see it, but if you can make it bigger, that'd be great.
I can see it too, Jerry.
Okay. So there's the BHS Safety Index for AL, trying to get this to zoom a little bit, is something that was created this year at the request of the executive leadership team. And it was noted that in the past, as many of you noted, when we've been doing our strategy planning, that we don't have a lot of or comparable measures in AL that we have in our skilled facility. And we need to begin to build them. And so I was given the charge to do this, and this has been discussed and calculated by hand by quality folks in each community and communicated with the DONs on our monthly DON call, but I thought I'd walk through this. Now, this paper tool that I'm showing right here is not something you need anymore, because this is all calculated automatically for you through the BHS eSource system. But the decision was made to take two of the ROMP rates in AL, your falls rate per 1,000 resident days, as well as a 3-month average of your medication error rate. The reason that we went to a 3-month average on the medication error rate is there's quite low incidence of medication errors in AL. So in order to get something that was stable enough to report, we have to do a 3-month total or average. So that means every month when the data is posted new to eSource, what you're seeing is the past 3 months average data for the medication errors. This is just a reminder to all you, as we've communicated with the ALDONs as well, that all falls and all medication errors are to be entered into the ROMP system. And then in order to create this matrix, what we do is we put in your score in those areas, and then depending on how you perform, and this is based upon an average within BHS, there's no national comparative for this data. So we looked at what was the average and desire to increase the average, kind of a thing. So this is based upon BHS normatives when this was created in April. So if you put in your rate here, so if you had a falls rate of 3 falls per 1,000 resident days, and that's right out of your ROMP system, you'd put that up here, and for that you would get 5 points. So it's a way of taking, a matrix is a way of taking multiple measures, putting them together, and coming up with a simplified number. So the highest you can score on this would be a 10, and the lowest you could score is a 2. So before I move on to some of the eSource tools, I want to see if there's any questions about that. All right, so then when you go into eSource, there is a tool on eSource called the Safety Index. This has been out for a while for the skilled area, and now we have, with the help of Jeff Anderson, thank you, Jeff, very much, we do have the assisted living. So when you come in here, if you don't have access to this, you simply send an email to me, and I will grant access to you all. But when you come in, you want to go to assisted living. And you can see in here right now, we don't have every community in, only looks like about 16. It does require that you enter your resident days into the ROMP system for this data to pull. We cannot calculate the rate per 1,000 resident days for August unless you tell us what your rates were. So facilities get this done as early as the 1st, and inevitably every month we at the clinical group do have to read out and just remind people to get their total resident days in. So if you go into this tool or you go into the eSource, I'll show that next, dashboard, and you see nothing for your communities because the total resident days have not put in yet. Okay, and so this is just showing you that for Garrison here, they did not have any falls last month, so they got 5 points, and they had no medication errors in the last 3 months, so they got 5 points, and that totals 10. Okay, so this is just a pictorial picture of this, and I believe that because this all comes from eSource data that we've had for a long time, there is trending results for communities in here so that you can look at February or March or whatever and see your trending results over time. So this is called the BHS Safety Index. It defaults to the long-term care, but when you go in, you simply check the month that you're looking for, go into assisted living, and you'll get a more detailed listing of your performance. Now you can see it's going to take, I've been flipping around in here so much, it's going to take it just a minute to get back to that AL screen. Typically, you will not be doing that much moving around in the tool to have it kind of slow down like that. And then what happens is, because this is not a QAPI goal, I know Pennie had those, but these are actually BHS strategic measures the BHS organization in a whole is trying to achieve. They get translated into our dashboard. So when you go into eSource, there is the dashboard, and if you don't have access to this, all housing managers should, by your position, if you want other staff to have access to the BHS dashboard, you have to run that through me. The thing to remember with this dashboard is it's totally wide open by design. So that means you can see any community's performance at any time on indicators. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you're providing access that with people that you feel secure would keep BHS's data confidential, which is why I would call you if there's somebody from your community that's seeking access. When you come into this, you see that it's always the BHS performance. You can see that right here. And it's always the most recent performance we have on any measure. Some measures are once a year, some measures are once a quarter, some measures are monthly. So it's always telling you, it shows the most recent data we have and where that's from. Now, most of you are not going to be interested in the BHS data. I mean, it's interesting to look at. I'm having trouble with moving some things around here, see if I can get this to go down. But most of the time, what you're going to want to do is come in here and go to your community. So you go in here and that's a funnel showing you can drill down. And I'm just going to pick a community here to look at their performance and save that. Now, you can eliminate the BHS system if you want. You do that on the far side, but otherwise you go in and then because I've selected St. Gabriel's, it's showing that. Now they don't have SNF measures that are these three here, but this AL index is right here, safety index for St. Gabriel's. This tool, if you hit right here on the trend, it'll give you a trend of your performance over time. So you are always defaulted as black, and this tells you what our target is for this measure, as well as the BHS normative, so you can see how you can stack up. Now, if you would want to, you can eliminate any of the measures from this screen simply by deleting them at the bottom. Okay? Some of the other features that are in this tool include, you can see what's the quartile for performance. So basically, we take the AL communities within BHS and we split them into 4 groups. So you can see that for this, the median, which is the middle, it's the middle point of all the data for BHS communities is 9 on a scale of 10. The upper quartile performance, we have many facilities that get all 10 points on this. And this opportunity for improvement quartile is the facilities that are having the most difficulty in performance. And again, if you're saying, well, this is a lot of things that I don't really care to see, you can delete whatever you want from this, okay? Now, BHS, this is down so low right now because we are still waiting for many of you to get your total resident days, and that will go up. That's just the way the data works. If you're interested in finding out who does this the best in BHS, what can I learn from the people that do it the best, you'll see you can find those names right here. So who's done the best in BHS in the last 12 months? Okay, so you can just reach out to those individuals, find out if they've got a nice program for you or something different. So again, this green arrow here is not telling you which direction any data is going. It's only telling you which direction the data is good performance, okay? And you can always set this up any way that you want to. I might want to take off the BHS here, and then I can go up to this little, that looks like extra equal sign, and you can download images of this. So if you are accountable to bring this information to a quality council, it's very easy to get that information, download it, put it into a PowerPoint presentation or some other tool that or print it off. So hats off to St. Gabriel. If we would trend this, this would show a nice upward trend over time of performance with the BHS Safety Index. So again, this is coming from the ROMP entries you're putting into eSource ROMP. You need to put in every fall and every near-miss fall, every medication error, and then the data is translated into the BHS Safety Index application on eSource, and then also transferred to the dashboard. So with that, Penny, that is kind of an overview of the safety index. I do know that Kevin Greff, our CFO, is working on some financial measurements that will be AL per the grid that Penny showed you earlier. I think it was free cash flow, and when that's available, we'll send out a note so you know that that's there. He's got to do some development work on that.
And I can give a little update on that as well. Thank you, Jerry, very much.
You're welcome.
So
and I have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think you have to take the screen back. I don't think I can give it back to you. I think, well, let me see. Change presenter to, are you in as DSO?
I should be the organizer. Yep, it's back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So
I do need to leave for another meeting.
Okay, just hang on for like 2 more seconds,
okay,
to make sure that there's no questions or anything. As we go through the rest of this, I wanted to make sure that you understood this, because one of the things that I think is really important is that, as we have talked about so many times, assisted living, senior housing, independent, home and community-based services is becoming the predominant business line. It is the one that is growing. And so as such, there needs to be a new level of accountability that comes with that growth and responsibility. So we provide care, and Jerry's done a lot of work in giving us these measurements. So, as the team grows and continues, we'll talk more and more about these measurements, and as we can read them, how we can change them. So any questions for Jerry before she leaves us? All right, thank you, Jerry.
Thank you all for all you do. Have a great day.
And when we change the presenter, it makes it so I can't change the screen sometimes. So let me see if I can get this. There we go. Okay. So as we talked about, some of the other are the AL resident recommend. And these measures are really determined by Jerry Carley. Then they are then given to folks like Chris and myself and you to say, okay, now how are you going to meet these measures? What are you going to do to support the team in the tools and the knowledge so that they can reach it? So one of the things that I have done is gone into my interview information and looked at as a whole within BHS. And again, you have this information available to you specific to your setting and your reality. So if you do not have access to this information, check with your CEO. If your CEO has any questions on how to get to the assisted living only side. Some of you may be too small and it may not exist, but in most cases it should be there. So reach out to Becky Urbanski or Key, and they can help you get access to your data so you can break it down. But this is as a whole, and basically as a whole what it's saying is there's trends across the Benedictine health system in assisted living, or what is considered housing. So IL is kind of thrown into that as well as memory care. And what are we seeing as the predominant factors that would allow us to move this rate up as a whole? So again, yours may be a little bit different, but this does seem to be a universal trend. So thought it was relevant to bring. Responsiveness of management. So again, as we took that Jerry Carley strategic and then said, what are some of the goals that we're going to be watching ongoing? We're going to be looking for this one overall to increase from 38% excellent to 40% over the next year. Growing as a person, increase from 29% to 31%, and accuracy of billing from 36% to 38%. So, so basically the responsiveness of management is a trend. To grow as a person, very similar, and in all of these, it's kind of like, is someone talking to me? Are they asking me what I could be or should be doing to enhance my life, to make my quality of life here the best it can be? There are several tools for that. Well, I'm going to bring some information that Steve just sent out as well if you did not get that email. But a lot of it is in the person-centered wellness. You know, when somebody moves in, that one-to-one interview, what's important to them, how do you integrate that into the calendar? How do you integrate that into how you support this person? How do you make sure that when they're talking to you or giving feedback, that we are letting them know what we're doing about it? The other thing is the accuracy of billing. Again, a lot of this are things that you would know better than I, how you can manage that within your facility. But from a BHS support team, I think what we're trying to do, and Linda will update us on Matrix shortly, is if we can get Matrix in there where the documentation system can become electronic and not manual, ideally this should help you to give some accurate billing, and then when somebody is billed for something, some accurate documentation to show that it was legitimate, etc. So hopefully that technology will help in that and improve that accuracy of billing, because I know there's a lot of work specifically around getting that improved through Patty as we move to the new Matrix. And then again, the My interview is scheduled for this fall. I have not seen a date yet. If somebody has a date, like Chris, you can certainly weigh in here and tell us when that interview is going out. But there were some ideas sent. These were sent in an email from Steve, so you may have this. If you don't, I can certainly forward it to you. And I'm not going to read it. This PowerPoint will be sent out to you all. And then you can read it then, and or you ideally would have gotten a letter straight from Steve. But basically just a lot of what these ideas are about is really making sure that the people who live in our buildings, the people who are enrolled in our home care or assisted living, know what we're doing. We are doing amazing, great things to improve things. We are ordering new stuff. We are getting new programs and services, having people get new education, new certifications all the time. And so it's really about making sure that people know that, and that whatever your results were last year, that is being shared. And now as we're about to go into the My Interview again, to say, here's what I did about what I learned last year. So here's what I did to improve things over the last year. So these ideas from Steve, and I think Jerry also helped to send them out, are very specific that you can take a look at. Here's a second page that has it as well. But you get the point. Share your activities, your wellness programs, any improvements in meals. An example of Steeple Point is they worked with U.S. Foods and got a whole new menu system and set up a feedback loop for people to weigh in on their meals. And so they did a ton of work around that. Well, some of the new people moving in may not have known that they did all that work to get to where they are today. So that's an example of sharing, hey, this is what we did, how's it going? And it's a good time to do that now. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on to occupancy. This is the last quarter census. There is a document that comes out from Randall every week, and it tells us how we are doing on our census, and it breaks it separately from SNF to AL. Again, if you did not have access to this tool, let me know. I'll make sure you get it. But what I think is really cool, and I should have done this in brighter colors than black, because it's really beautiful numbers. We did have a summer dip, but again, it's going back up. But overall, you can see that we are staying above 91%, and that those numbers are increasing again. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like and why that is such a point of pride in one moment, and how we can continue and why we have to continue to do this. So pause quickly and say, congrats, guys. This is awesome. This is not easy work, and my next slide will share why. So occupancy. This is an article from the McKnight Senior Living, but for those of you who kind of get those emails every day that gathers articles from across the nation, you will find many articles out there. And basically, again, not reading the whole thing to you, but if you just look at the top paragraph, it says occupancy rate for assisted living has fallen lower than the last quarter's record low average, from 85.7% to 85.2%. The rate was the lowest since NIC began reporting in 2005. In the next paragraph below, it says, over the past 10 quarters, which is only 2 quarters short of its 12th quarter downturn during the Great Recession, the latest data from NIC shows record growth in inventory as well, with more than 4,400 units coming online. So in short, what this article is saying is what we all know. We are waiting for the baby boomers to age. The market is building at a record pace, waiting for the aging baby boomers to age. But, and I'm one of them, we're still young. So the challenge in the occupancy is something that we're going to continue to face. And so again, really a point of pride to say how we've accomplished that so far. But we need to keep it up. We'll talk about the finances again, but we got to keep our budget. We got to keep ourselves going. And so even though these articles are talking about the occupancy and the downturn, you can see that BHS is beating that. That average is 85%. Our average is up in the 90s. If you look at the national average in those in the top quartile, or those doing the best for occupancy, they are in the 90s. So what is the difference between the average and those who are in that top quartile, those that are staying up in that 90%? Well, I would say that, and again, Jackie or Dina or anybody who may be on the call can weigh in, but a lot of it is the cross-campus referrals. With few exceptions, we are all a full campus, and in some cases that campus includes a hospital. That is a huge opportunity for self-awareness, cross-referrals, and creative ideas for making sure that people know we exist and are coming to us. Lots of opportunity within that, and so again, there's discussions that are being had on what other tools and resources can we have to kind of keep people engaged with BHS throughout their senior life. But just look at your campus. There's a particular program that's now called Rehab to Respite, could be a better term. But if you have not heard about this, reach out to your OVP, reach out to your marketing folks, or reach out to me. Because if you are struggling with occupancy, this is a program that you are expected to have in your toolkit. Because it is about a really easy way for that internal self-referral, which is the easiest and best way to get those referrals. Also, you have a huge supportive sales and marketing team, Jackie, Dina, and her team that can help you with all sorts of resources and using Facebook and everything as well. And there's tons of best practice. So again, there is that census and that occupancy report. Look who's got that strong occupancy, reach out to your colleagues and find out what they're doing to make that happen. Any questions on occupancy? Oh, there is one, hold on. Oh, on the chart, I need to go back up. I don't have the dates on the chart. The question was whether the dip was summer, and it was quarterly. So that might have been a misnomer on my part. Let me go back up. So the quarter, that would have been the summer rise, and the dip would have been the winter. Thank you for correcting me on that. If you go back to the quarters. Anything else on the census? All right, finance. So I talked to Kevin this morning, and he sends out an apology. As Jerry talked about too, the free cash flow is not available right now. One of the things, and we're going to talk about what's going on in finance when we talk about matrix as well, but the finance folks are transferring all of our financial data into a new software system. And all of that, they closed the books for June or last year's fiscal year 2018. And as they open up our current fiscal year 2019, if I'm getting my years right, they are opening it up in this new software system. So they've got a ton of conversion to do. So the reporting is not yet available. So if you go into your own financial results, you're probably going to find the answers and how you did last month, but as an aggregate, I don't have that data. What Kevin did share with me though is that it looks like as an overall we were positive and that we made budget. So again, kudos, great way to start out the year. That's awesome. And we got to keep that going. So this was the end of last year, and so just a reminder, we did good, we were positive. But yet we were budgeted, we made about $8,000, but we were budgeted for over $1 million. So we're still not at our budget or where we need to be. One of the opportunities is what we call income as a percentage of revenue. And really it's just a measurement of how much are you spending in comparison to your largest expense, which is staff and supplies and things like that. And we're at about 1.15% of the margin, and the national average is about 30 to 35%. So if we look at ourselves and how we run our operations in comparison with the nation, there is a disjunct in how much money is being spent compared to coming in. And the obvious math, which all of you know, is either we need to increase our revenue or we need to decrease our expense. So we're going to continue to kind of look at that. Again, the new electronic software matrix and the new pricing structure, and I'll give you an update on that. I know you've been waiting for that a long, long time, will help us with that. But in the meantime, just take a look at that and maybe take a look at yourself in comparison to some of your colleagues. And if their numbers might be a little bit higher, what are they doing differently? One of the things that I would say in that is one of the things that I find is where there is opportunity in some cases, it is in staffing, that maybe some of the service levels have gone down, but the staffing hasn't been adjusted because normally in assisted living we don't adjust our staff. So something to look at. Any questions on that? All right. So just real quick, because I really don't know a lot about this, but I just want to make sure, because again, sometimes not everybody's on distribution list, so I want to err on the side of communication. There is a change. Office 365 is coming. It is a web-based office that, because I'm here with some of the IT folks and the support team, will be very different for us. So it's something that you just want to keep an eye on, know when it's coming so you can prepare for it, and it doesn't shut down your communication, because it is quite a bit different. So if you did not get that email, I would, again, just reach out to your CEO, who should have received that email, and make sure that you're getting the communication on that Office 365 change. The matrix update, we do have, as I said, Linda is on the call, and she's going to give us an update on some of the plans. She started the work. We are still waiting for the contract to be signed. It is still going back and forth, and so we cannot move forward on matrix until that is signed. And then after Linda talks, I'll give you a little bit of an update, again, relating to our finance department and what we're doing to kind of move that forward with the matrix and the pricing. But for now, I'll stop talking and ask Linda to unmute and give us an update, and I'll pull up your document.
Well, hello, and happy Assisted Living Week, everyone. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for putting that up, since my computer's still not working. But we had our call on matrix today, and we've been slowly doing some observations through the matrix through their trial site, although until we get our demo site live and running, we can't really go into it and see how things are going to work with our evaluations that we currently do. So we're still in a process, but we're getting a nice overview of what we can and can't do. We've kind of seen a little bit of the demo, and we've gone through some evaluation reviews and demonstrated how our pricing tool will look on the matrix system, and then figuring out how that's going to bill out. So some next steps that we're going to be doing, we're going to be meeting with Jerry and the RNSs, looking at what our evaluations are going to look like, do some attempts at some building of those, and then we'll send them out to the matrix project team. So far, these are the people that I do have on the team, and I just want you to verify that you, yes, want to be on the team. I believe I still need someone from Illinois and Missouri. I'm not quite sure who those two representatives will be. So if you can email me, linda.johnson@bhshealth.org, that would be wonderful, and we will add you on. Or if you want to be removed because you did not want to be on the matrix team, just let me know that also. So we're getting moving slowly, but hopefully in the next week or two we'll pick up and we'll start our projects and start rolling out samples and getting everyone involved. Do you have any questions on matrix?
Thank you, Linda. So just to add a little bit to the matrix, one, the contract. We need to wait to the contract before we can get the software. Two, just a reminder that matrix is having another upgrade, a pretty significant one in October. So they're feeling the rollout will go much faster once that's in place. And three, one of the issues and opportunities is our billing system currently, and especially if you're a Minnesota EW provider, has some issues within matrix. And we really need to work with matrix to redo how our billing is set up so that it runs smoothly for all of you, and then set it up to meet our new pricing structure. That's going to require capacity from our finance department. And as I said, they are in the middle of converting 100% of our finances into a new software system. So it's kind of a perfect storm of not enough people and too much to do. And so there is a meeting immediately following this one to try to understand where we are going to come up with the capacity, because we know that, we're in healthcare. There's never going to be enough time to get everything done. So what is our plan B and how are we going to move this forward? So as Linda continues to work with this team, and again, this team that she's outlined being her vetting team, and then with that vetting, yes, we think this would work. We would try it in our initial 2 pilot sites, which are Steeple Point and St. Joseph's, Missouri, and then with positive results from that, we would roll it out to the 10 who volunteered across the nation to be some of the first to come up, actually not across the nation, I apologize, in Minnesota to be the first ones to come up, as well as Nazareth, just because multiple states are confusing and we're trying to limit the states to get all our bugs worked out. So again, you know, and then while she's doing that, she would then communicate to all of you through this forum as well as other forums so that people are aware of what's going on, and decisions ideally are not being made in isolation, but in a small enough group that we can be nimble and keep things moving forward. So hopefully, as she said, things will start jump-starting shortly as we are resolving these, finalizing the contract. October is around the corner. So the new release should be ready to go, and in the meantime, she's starting to make decisions on the software with the help of this team. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that? Okay, thank you, Linda. Okay, the long-term care consultation tool for seniors. There was again, this is, I apologize, this is a Minnesota only thing, but we'll just go through it very quickly. I want to make sure you have this resource available to you. There was an article that came out in Minnesota regarding the requirement to get a long-term care consultation before you can move into assisted living. And Jerry Carley asked me if you all had available to you a standardized resource that explained this. So I got this from Bonnie Kingsley. Thank you, Bonnie. This actually comes straight from the senior linkage line. There is also a smaller document that Dina's team had put together that is BHS logo that explains the need to get a consultation. But I think straight from the horse's mouth is good. This will be in the new admission package that Jana is working on, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But in the meantime, if you do not have this tool, reach out to me, and it will be on eSource, but reach out to me and we'll make sure that you have it for your admission package so that we are consistently explaining to people what that is. The other tool that I have for you is an updated checklist. And this we will send out with materials when we send out the recording of the call. But there are some changes in Minnesota that required an update of our employee orientation. Now there should be, and as we update the policy and procedure books, we will have one of these for sure for each state, either using the one you already have, or if you don't have one, creating one for you. But in Minnesota, we had to add the tenant rights under 2017 rule setting. You should have received this at the end of 2017. So that change was made. But more recently, we realized we were missing this piece, which is the 3 bullets relating to hearing loss that are now required. So this tool has been updated. You don't need to go backwards because all of this should be in EduCare. So as everybody's doing their annual education, they should be compliant, but this checklist will allow you to prove that you're compliant and include all of the new rules and regulations right there in your checklist. So this will be available to you as well. Any questions on that? All right. Okay, so the home care manual. So one of the things that we have identified and are working on is that years ago, for those of you who have been here longer than I, you will know these names, is Sierra and Bobby. Sierra still is a nurse, she's a nurse practitioner now, and Bobby, who now works for Leading Age, created a Minnesota home care manual. In this, they covered a lot. They covered HR policies, they covered how you should do a communication book. They covered a million things. So it is and was an amazingly helpful tool, but it's also an opportunity for not being compliant with your policies, because you're all different and you're all unique. And there's some things that we have to do the VHS way, but there's some things that shouldn't be the VHS way. They should be decided in your community. So as we look at this, this manual, we're really separating out what is policy that is required by state law, and or a structure that BHS says this is the way you need to do it, and what is really tools that you can use if you choose within your building, and separating those things out. Secondarily, there are policies, for example, on infection control or HR, and over the 4 or 5 years that have occurred since that manual was written, those we now have experts in those areas, in HR and in infection control, who have their own new standards and policies, and so they don't match anymore. So we really need to make sure that we're really just focusing on what we need to do. Again, the most regulated is Minnesota, but we're starting with Minnesota, having a much smaller handbook of policies, and then having resource tools that can be used by all 5 states if they choose to use these tools. And then we will move on to the next state and the next state and the next state. For example, in the folks that I've had the privilege of meeting in North Dakota, there's not really standard policies. You all have the rules and regs. There's not a ton of them in North Dakota, but it doesn't really equate to some of the tools that you would necessarily have in Minnesota, and we want to bring those to you as well as the other states. So that's going to be coming. As we get this finalized and approved, we'll have some webinars, we'll have some education, and then, like I said, we'll move out to the other states. Any questions on that? So as you see some of these bits and pieces, when we start talking about it's coming, it's a part of that and kind of broader rollouts. Another one of the broader rollouts is the admission package. If you are familiar with a SNF, you will see that there's a very well-organized admission package all set and prepared for you, and then you can add your individual stuff to that. But it assures you meet compliance with the laws of your state. It assures that you have everything you need in order to be comfortable that you've given that person everything they need for the admission. And so we're doing the same thing in assisted living. So it won't include the home care intake, but it will in Minnesota, but it will include the admission for all the different states. And so that is starting to be finalized, and that will be coming out soon as well. So that's just some of the work that's upcoming. Work that has already started and you should have received is the advanced care planning documents. So I'm just going to pull this up and move this over here. This has been adopted to every state. If you have not seen it, this is Wisconsin's. It would have come out from Nancy P. And it would have been an Adobe Word document that has all of your advanced care planning information and intake tools for each one of your buildings. And so again, this is Wisconsin. The nursing department should have been trained on this. This should all be fully active at this moment. But if any of this looks new to you and you haven't seen it or you don't know anything about it, let me know and we'll get you hooked up on the training that you need. Okay, any questions on that? All right. The other update that I wanted to give you was Northfield and Shakopee. Just every time we meet, I thought I would share it with you. Northfield, the foundation is being built, so that is groundbreaking has occurred. It is being started and moving forward, still scheduled and on track to open it in the fall of 2019. Shakopee is moving forward. We now have drawings and even a little video that can share if you would like it, but that is definitely moving forward as well. The architect has been engaged, the drawings are already occurring. It will be associated with St. Gert's. So I'm going to start working with that team to understand that community and how we need to start reaching out. So, so both of those are moving forward, and Shakopee should be open in spring of 2020. And so again, never too early to start reaching out. Both of those buildings already have people asking about apartments and how they can get on the waiting list. So pretty exciting stuff, and they're both going to be absolutely beautiful. And I did get a message for someone who is asking me to follow up with them after this call, and I will do that to make sure you have the right information. So any questions on Northfield or Shakopee? Okay. And then the other one that's still in the works but seems to be kind of on the radar screen, just so you know, is we are still looking at oh, forgot the name of them. Chris, help me. Is it Interlude? What's the one by Osseo?
Steeple Point?
Oh, the one that's looking at building an assisted living. Innsbruck. I'm sorry, my brain went completely numb.
Yeah. Innsbruck.
Innsbruck. So Innsbruck is also nothing official, nothing done, but is moving forward. So that might be one that you may be hearing about in the future as well. And I have to get my, not moving forward. Get this to move. Okay, this is hot off the presses. So again, if you are receiving all of the emails, and again, I know some of you are not, so forgive me when I'm telling you, if I'm telling you something you already know, but this literally just came out. It wasn't even on the agenda. I just saw it, and so we do have a new Vice President of Operations that we can welcome. Tia, I'm assuming, is a female, and she will be starting, her new role of the North Region beginning Monday, September 17th. And so, again, Chris can weigh in here, but it's my understanding that the regions will stay the same as they are now. So if currently your OVP is Steve, this would be your new OVP. Is that your understanding, Chris?
That is correct.
Okay, good. So again, you can read this. She's got a ton of experience. She comes from Wisconsin. She's been an OVP. She's got, it looks like, a really long and rich background, and I can't wait to meet her. Anything you want to add to that, Chris?
No, I believe her last name is pronounced Bovey, like V as in Victor.
Oh, okay. Tia Bovey, pretty name. So hopefully there'll be more information. She's starting pretty darn soon, so more information to come. A reminder, just these are things that we've talked about in the past, but as I've spoken to some new folks, it was new information. So there is an old assumption that if your campus had a CLIA waiver, your assisted living or your home care did not need one. That is not true. In order for that to be true, you have to meet 3 criteria that none of our buildings meet. So if you do not have your own waiver, you will need to get one. So just make sure that that is something that you're looking at. And then the Minnesota attestation. There is a new manager who the previous manager had taken care of everything, and so it was all kind of brand new to her, but yet she's still needing to own the compliance. So we needed to kind of back up and re-educate her so that she could make sure that she was following the policies and procedures and ready for the surveys that come through. So if you are a new manager and the Minnesota attestation sounds fuzzy to you, or you're not crystal clear on what you need to do to be compliant with that, give me a call and we'll make sure to get you your orientation. Another reminder, this just came out as well from Leading Age, and that there are now scholarships open so that you can have your staff trained if they want to become a licensed nurse or a CNA, or go through any sort of education program related to home and community-based services. Managers, what have you, go through the Care Providers Program. Leading Age. Those scholarships are now open, available, and ready to go. And that was on the Leading Age newsletter. So if you don't get that newsletter, just go to their website and you can sign up for that. And then if you have any questions or are interested in this grant, connect with your HR and or you can connect with myself as well. The other thing is a reminder, and again, I apologize, this is a Minnesota thing, but there was an email from the Minnesota Department of Health that said that they have combined the home care bill of rights with the assisted living clients and are updated on their website. I got this forwarded to me by several of you saying, hey, did you see this? You know, this changes that we have 2 different documents, it's all one. I forwarded that to Trent and said, hey, did you see this? You know, we can change some of our admission policies. And he had received a letter from care providers that said that this was actually an error. So do not change your practice. Do everything the way that you've done before. This is for Medicare certified home care only. And the only place we have that is North Dakota. So if you are North Dakota and you're on the call, and I think you are, this does apply to you. So if you have 2 separate home care bill of rights, and you may want to check in your state if that has been merged, because typically things for Medicare certified come from the feds. But if you are from Minnesota, there is no change. Okay, and then the last thing that I have, and where did it go, is a resource for all of you. This is a national company, and they are called Paragon Home Resources. This is available on eSource. And basically what it is a provider who will help somebody who is selling their home and looking at moving into senior housing with every aspect of packing up the materials, doing garage sales, doing the sale, doing the move. I mean, they're a one-stop shop to help people in managing. As part of this, they offer very transparently a percentage of their sales going to you. And they have several ways that you can set this up, and you can let people know that if they use this service, that it's either going to benefit you directly and or to your foundation. And so if you are interested in calling them and learning more about it, this brochure is available and their phone number is on the bottom. So I did not leave us a whole lot of time here, but is there any questions, comments, concerns, anything great happening in the world? Sure. Okay. I'm not hearing anything. Chris or Linda, anything you want to cover that you haven't already?
No, I think you did a great job covering everything for now.
Okay, thank you.
Next month.
Well, again, I thank you all for everything you do. Happy Assisted Living Week It is an honor to work with you. If I can do anything to help you, please give me a call. I'm here, Linda's here, the whole support team is here. Sorry that Matrix and the pricing is going on a little bit slower, but we're getting that back on track and moving. So looking forward to next steps, and have a great day.